Okay, I don't know how we got this far without talking about the brush tool, but I think this is a pretty good time. Throughout the tutorial, you've been seeing me use the brush tool, and but I haven't explained anything about it, so let's get to it. There's many applications for this for the tool other than just letting your 3-year-old scribble all over a blank document. Um, Photoshop comes with a good number of default brushes at your disposal as well. There's also an advanced option of total brush control that offers countless options for your brushes. For the sake of this video and for the sake of my sanity, I'll go ahead and show you the basics, but I will show you how to create brushes and do the more advanced features like that. In case you should be feeling frisky, and you should be enough to play with the advanced brush sets. So to get started, we'll go ahead and switch over to the brush tool by pressing B, and then so now it looks like I have hot paint selected as my foreground color from the last tutorial. I think that'll work just fine, so we'll leave that there. This is your foreground, that's your background. The brush generally uses the foreground color as default. So we can keep on going like this. This is a regular old brush. It's what it looks like, and you can draw with it just like you would expect to. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. Up here is a drop-down menu of all of the default brush presets that have saved for you. So for instance, we can switch over to, say, the star and click a little bit with this, and then it gives a little scatter star. We'll get rid of that. We'll switch over to maybe the grass and then put some pink grass down here. Now this switches in variation in color, and I'll show you why that's happening here in a second. So we'll get rid of that. So yeah, you get the basic idea of that. There's a bunch of different little presets that you can use to get things done. Now the size, let's switch over to a regular brush here. The size is controlled by here, and you can actually adjust the size on the fly using the brackets. Oops. Adjust the fly on the fly using the brackets. Right bracket up, left bracket down. That's how that works. And then if we go back into and you look at hardness, hardness depends on the basically how soft is the edge of the brush. So this one's on 0 hardness, so it's got a little kind of like a glow on the outside here. Well, if I back that off and switch the hardness up to say 100%, now it's got a really strict, very hard edge. Okay, and now we'll switch it down to about 50%. That'll work. Now opacity does exactly what you would think it would be. Drop the opacity down. Now it gets a little lighter. And flow would basically, I would have to say, the best way to put it, kind of adjust how much pressure you would be putting down on the paper, because kind of right there it kind of looks like I didn't put much pressure onto it. So that's what flow does. And now this is also really cool. Remember layer modes over here? Well, brush modes have the same exact the same exact options, so that can get really creative if you want to. So there's that. The next thing is this little icon here is the same thing as this little icon here. Basically, they both control the brush palette. Now with the brush palette, this is what I was talking about with creating all kinds of advanced little shapes and things. So you can turn on all these little things, and you can lock them, and you can come and play with all these settings. So if I check this, play with the size jitter up and down. We'll set this to 100% so we can kind of get more of a dramatic result, and I'll lower the lower the size of the brush. And the more we move on, you can see how it just kind of varies in size, and that's completely random, controlled by this here. So we'll get rid of that. And you can get all kinds of crazy with this. You can adjust the scatter, see how and it gives you the little live preview down here to kind of see what you're about to get yourself into. And then so I mean, you can create some really, really cool things, and wet edges and things like that. I mean, you can create some of the craziest things ever. So you really just have to get in there and play with it. And I know you guys hear me say play with it a lot. Now I get that little comment or that little quote from my my mentor that I found on the internet. His name is Bert Monroy, and you can find him at revision3.com. He runs a show called Pixel Perfect, and I watch it religiously. It's a great show. It's a great tutorials. I mean, the guy's a genius, and he's excellent at Photoshop. One of the true masters of Photoshop. So go check that out. So now we have this this brush in here, and if we want to save this brush, say you come across the ultimate brush and you just never want to give it up, you can actually save this brush by clicking the little it's kind of like the new layer icon, but with the brush palette. And click on that, and we'll name this the pink scatter brush. Pink scatter. and we'll click OK. You can preserve the brush size if you'd like, but so for now I'll go ahead and leave that checked. And then once you save it, you can go over to brush presets and there it is down here, pink scatter. So you can switch over to this one and run that, or you can click on pink scatter and switch back over to your one. So like I said, come in there and play with the brush a lot, find one that suits your needs, and then just save it, and you can always have it forever. The last thing we want to talk about in here is loading more presets. Once you come in here, you can click this little arrow over here and come down, and you'll see that there's all kinds of extra brushes that come preloaded with Photoshop. So let's see if we pick one, basic brushes, that, and you can click append, which will add to, or OK, which will replace. So we'll just append, and that adds a basic brush list from 1 pixel, from 1 pixel on up to 500 pixels. So then they have some more artsy brushes, sorted brushes. We'll append those and drop our list down. So here's all kinds of weird little brushes that you can use. You can use for basically whatever need. If you find a need, you can use it. So get in there and play. Like I said, there's tons and tons of options, and there's no way I can explain every one of them to you, and even one tutorial, if not 1,000 tutorials. So that's the brush tool. Get in there and play with it and have fun. See you in the next video.